So here we are again, Austin, in the England change room.
You're on the physio bed again.
Nothing changes there. The beautiful Victorian claw bars are ready and waiting for the ice for Saturday for South Africa, and the boys will need it. It will be absolutely brutal.
But first of all, we've got dinner here with 50 guests in the changing room with lots of banter and fun and games from me, and he's here as well.
It's goodbye from me.
It's hello from me. Is that what they said?
No.
Is that the two
It's
lines?
goodbye from him.
It's
Goodbye from me.
goodbye from him and it's goodbye from me. That's what
it.
they said.
No.
Yes,
I
it was.
say it's goodbye from him, and you say it's goodbye from me. So me never gets to say goodbye. I go, and it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from me.
Exactly. So I never said goodbye.
God, they were geniuses.
What is your feeling 3 days afterwards? It's had a little bit of time to cool down. What's your view? Let's start with you, Will.
Yeah, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet. I watched the game again, and clearly there were some serious problems in certain aspects of the game. But there was a lot of positive stuff, and you have to cling to that in terms of the hope that you go into South Africa. Where I found there were issues, I thought they were exposed by the Australian chip in behind, and no one changed it. So I don't mind it happening because everyone leaves a weakness somewhere. But it happens 2, 3, 4, 5 times. That's not luck. That's someone doing their homework on you, and you need to adjust quickly. I felt at times the breakdown was a real issue, especially when the Australians had the ball. The tackles were made. Ones went in on their own, and there were a couple of people around the corner I saw, and they went and thought, you know what? I'm going to get in a defensive line and worry about the next thing. You know that if the Australians, South Africans or All Blacks get a sniff of someone making a half decent tackle, they just flood the breakdown. They go, you know what, if we go in numbers, the referee will not know who to pick. You can't pick anyone, bang. So we conceded possession a little bit too much. I've got a third one, sorry Oz. Restarts. What do you always used to say?
Restarts.
If something works well, if you kick it somewhere and it works well, do it again until they fix it. We went short restart before half time, brilliant. Short restart after half time, brilliant. We were then behind, needed the ball back, and we kicked on one left with no chase. Curly Bill picked it up, whacked it, line up back on our own 10-metre line. Just tiny little things like that, and then I'll leave Oz, I suppose, who will have his own list, but perhaps to open up the debate about penalty or no penalty. Take the points or don't.
I think definitely take the points, but for me England just went through the motion. So individual tackles in the breakdown. You can be a nuisance if you're by yourself, be more of a nuisance, don't just be in there and go through the motions. Our set piece, line out was okay, scrum was absolutely terrible. Dan Cole, he's been sort of spoken about as a world-class tight head, didn't perform. He's got to have a big game against South Africa. And our line speed in defence against Australia, when they're only going side to side, you've got to blitz them and blitz them really hard, push them back and get territory that way. They didn't think when they were on the field either. We didn't have the ball for 4 minutes in the first half. As soon as we got it back, we box kicked a line out straight back to them. Stupid play. Need to be more intelligent.
From the stands, it felt like we really displayed a bit of immaturity. I mean, we had a lot less caps out there than Australia. Would that be a fair comment, would you say?
Well, I think what you want from a side that's got a lot of caps is the ability to change the way they play. Clearly, this side, when they get front football and it's going quite well, it's great. They're looking quite a good side. But that happens for about 40-50% of the game. The rest of the time, when you've got the ball, you're on the back foot, or someone blitzes out the line. Watch John de Villiers for South Africa this weekend. He varies his defensive system. Willem Albert's the same. Sometimes he comes, he's a giant, he scares you. Other times he backs off. So it's that ability.
They
do, yes. The one under the bed. No, the one under
the beanstalk. I think that the big thing for England is they don't understand width. So at the minute they're playing and trying to gain width with big long passes. You don't need to stand really wide to gain width. This all starts with Flood. Flood standing way too wide from his 9, which means that the defensive line is already upon his 2 big ball carriers. So they're being less effective. He needs to get closer. If he wants to take the ball in motion, take it in motion, but take it from underneath the scrum or underneath the ruck and move on to the line. The line won't be able to come to you as quickly then. And I don't think he quite understands his positioning there. A lot different when you're playing for Leicester than you are for England.
And the flip side of it would be that if you are coming round like that or starting close, where do England like to attack with Ashton? Just on that inside ball. If you've got a gap that's 200 yards wide, you see things happening defensively. You can pick it up. Be a little bit more subtle about what you're trying to do. I think what's really important this Saturday is somehow get the crowd in the game. It was just so flat first 20 minutes. We always used to take the mickey out of the Scottish team because they'd watch Braveheart the night before they played England, or they'd walk out and there'd be Pied Pipers and there'd be Celts on the field, and it would just be trying to get that thing going. For England, get a DVD of France against Argentina that happened 4 or 5 hours after the game against Australia. Oh
They
my
need to shock them, don't
goodness.
they? Danny Blair was the only one
is
that shocked
what
anyone.
France did to Argentina. They just
Physically and around the field.
terrifying levels of physicality. This is supposed to be a fortress.
Can I just pick up on one thing that I noticed from the stands, which was free kick, halfway line, halfway through the first half, and we looked at each other, no one seemed to know what they were doing, and we stuck an up and under up. Now that, for me, showed a real sort of lack of ambition. And I don't know how you boys feel about that. Maybe that's something, a modern game, that's what you've got to do. But
sometimes from free kicks you don't get the ball quick enough to go and the line's there. So your choices then are take a scrum. Actually, it's quite a good choice. I know which one you're on about. It was
Especially
a good
right-hand
kick.
side.
Yeah, and it was early on in the game. Berwick Barnes, a fly half, centre playing at fullback. Let's test him out. Landed just outside. He took a brilliant kick, stood up in the tackle. But then we had nobody counter-rucking. We should have had 4 of the front 5. Blasting over that.
I've got another piece of video to watch. 1991 World Cup quarter-final, Serge Blanco. Mickey Skinner and the boys just used him as a little sort of carpet on the way through.
Well, that's exactly what should happen. And if they don't turn him over because he's an intelligent player and he can place the ball long enough, you then have your 2 fast guys, at least your scrum half, blitzing the kicker onto Beale, who's a fullback playing at 10. So he's not used to pressure coming from both sides when he kicks. We didn't put enough pressure on Australia. We put all the pressure on ourselves.
Right, we've got different challenges this week. What do South Africa offer in terms of their physicality compared to Australia? I mean, it's a totally different.
Frightening levels of physicality. They don't tend to batter teams in terms of necessarily beating you by 50, but they just batter you. It's absolutely great. Same as the first half. Adrian Strauss ends up with a couple of tries, but they just off the top of lineouts. Either Jean de Villiers comes short off Lambie, or they drop the 2 back rowers off, they throw to the middle, Etzebeth, they drop them off, hit him up straight over, they target the fly half. Flood will have to stick his tin hat on because they're coming.
It's a gain line game. England need to move the gain line forward. Make the tackle line a lot further in terms of its distance from the gain line. So they're hitting them early because they won't win the physicality, they won't beat them physically. So if they are going to beat them in terms of metres, make the tackle point further. So if they do get driven back, they're still short of the gain line. Then South Africa will struggle to get those forwards around the corner. If they do that and then shock them by playing quick ball, high tempo and good set-up plays. Australia at the weekend, ball off the line out halfway line, hit the midfield, they then hit the short side and took out all the fringes with 3 runners and then had 2 fast guys going down the channel, created the try. England need to think what their set-up plays are and do them well. They didn't get into any sort of attacking framework at all last week.
If we happen to lose the next 2 games, how big a setback is that for Stuart Lancaster and his new look England?
I think the Australia game was a setback. I think they came into this confident of where they were, of what they'd done off the field, plenty of time together. At 4 out of 5 in the 6 Nations, they'd come away in South Africa with a draw in the 3rd test, and they'd watched France pulverise Australia really by going at them physically, and they just didn't come out the traps.
Well, they just had to turn up.
Yeah.
For me, the catalyst of England, the back row and the half-backs are wrong. The balance is wrong there. And no matter how much endeavour and heart you put into it, if that's not right, the team won't function. I don't think Kerr and Flood work together. I just don't think they complement each other. And I think the back row of Waldron and Rob Shaw and Johnson is too small for international rugby. You need one big, massive bruiser in there, or somebody who is exceptionally fast and powerful. And I think Morgan, whilst he's not the best defender in the league, he's definitely the best ball carrier.
I think Wood's got to play.
Yeah, I'd go Wood, Morgan, Rob Shaw. I think it's a much better balance.
I think Wood has to play. I think he's Tom Johnson had a good start to international rugby. I'm sure he'll get more caps, but just the last 2 weeks just hasn't been himself, and maybe he's got to go away, get his club form back with Exeter Chiefs before he gets. But Wood, when he's come on, it's like Launchbury. Probably now has to be selected because of his impact off the bench, and then you probably think Vulipola
definitely
has to play at Lucerne.
Yeah, definitely.
Super. Right, let's move on to the other nations.
Yeah. France, terrifying. France now look very dangerous. Fritz, he's starting to play a bit at 13 because he's surrounded by people who run off him and allow him just to go and be that barbaric physical beast that he is in the midfield. The back row are exceptional. Nyanga and Uedraogo pretty good. Pick-a-moles, I didn't think Kieran Reid was touchable as the world's best number 8. Right now, Pick-a-moles has got a good argument that he's the best number 8 in the world.
No, well, it's pretty much covered it, hasn't it? France are fulfilling their potential, shall we say, and hopefully that is pretty short-lived.
Let's go to home nations. What's the view on the state of Welsh rugby at the moment?
Welsh rugby, well, it's pretty similar to England actually. They just can't find their game plan in terms of attack and haven't got a strong enough forward pack or defensive pattern to grind out wins. And there's plenty of attacking potential there, like England, but it's just not clicking. They can't decide who to pick at 10. I think Priestland's been picked again this weekend.
He's got an injury.
But he's just.
He doesn't look like the player he was.
Yeah, he's indecisive. He looks like he's lacking a bit of confidence. Their midfield aren't firing.
Jonathan Davis
coming back. I was going to say it's going to be a big plus for them. And to be honest, once you lose a player like Shane Williams, if North isn't firing like he was this time last year, you lose some X factor out wide. So it's there for them to find, but they won't be happy where they are at the current time.
Halfpenny was a rock. Roberts defended exceptionally well. I think we're just so used to getting Jenkins playing loose head, Adam Jones playing tight head, and then being brilliant around the pass as well as a rock. And they just, the first break for the first try went past numbers 1 and 3 in a Welsh jersey. Now when Jones and Jenkins play, that just doesn't happen. So these blokes are taking their place.
When Jenkins came on, he was woeful in
the
scrum.
But my whole point is, he now, that's the worry. Jenkins has been world class for years. He's gone to Toulon,
hasn't
fair
played.
play to, doesn't get any games. Sheridan, having been injured for 7 years, isn't injured and plays every game. Laporte picks him for every game. So Jenks, who's out there, he's getting 5-10 minutes here and there max. And so with that, it's affecting his club form. Same with Phillips, not getting any game time down in Bayonne. So it makes it very difficult. And you begin to understand, people have a go that we're not picking French players. But if you start picking players from abroad, you run the risk of a lot of people going, and a lot of people playing themselves out of form.
Let's finish with a quick word on Scotland and Ireland yet.
Declan Kidney. It's one of those things, he's got a really difficult decision now. I thought a lot of their young lads came in from Ulster. And I know it was Fiji, but Fiji made England 12. And it was a pretty similar side that played it. And they were outstanding. Luke Marshall at 12, excellent, absolutely excellent. Made a couple of errors, don't mind. He took it on, he played really well, offloaded well. Cave, sharp. Gilroy on the right wing, genuine, I think he's faster than you. Genuine jet shoes. The young kid who came off the bench, scrum half, that Marshall, another Marshall from Ulster, Henderson at 6. I just think it was quite interesting for Declan Kidney now that he sort of opened the door to these kids with a view that said, if you play well, I'll pick you. Well, they played well. What does he do now with all the players he picks game after game?
And tough for Scotland actually. They're toiling away, like New Zealand and South Africa. It's not the easiest start. Whoever picked that fixture to go first against New Zealand is going to knock your confidence, because that was just sublime the way they played against them.
Found a scrum half.
Yeah, scrum half's not playing too bad. But
Burgos came on.
But Laidlaw at 10 is just
too loose.
Yeah, he's not an international 10. He's a very good rugby player, but he hasn't got a long kicking game, and that's what Scotland need. They need someone who can push them territorially around the field, and they've got a very competitive pack. I think the pack will take on most packs.
Grant, as Lou said, I think is potentially forcing going to the Lions playing.
Well, that's the interesting thing actually. You would have put money on most of the Lions coming from Ireland and Wales. But I think it's starting to level out a little bit now, which will make the Six Nations even more important.
You could think about Gray from Scotland, Grant.
Yeah, but Gray hasn't been playing well for Sale either, so everyone who's come into the season with a big reputation has had it knocked somewhat. There's very few that have maintained their reputation.
Agreed.
And then when you wrote down that Lions 15 maybe 3 or 4 months ago, it's a lot different now.
I mean, who do you think? I mean, we were talking about Warburton, Lions captain, and last week Wales dropped him now. I know he's back for this week, but there can't be many guys who've been favourites to be a Lions captain get dropped by their own country.
After one international.
Prediction time?
England against South Africa.
I think England will bounce back, but South Africa will beat them. I just think they're too strong. They've got too much. Their game hardened after the championship. They've come in after some serious hard games. They've got a lot of injuries. The squad's quite depleted. So there's a few players playing with a lot to prove. Had it been the old squad with everybody still in it, you could argue England could grind them out. But I just think there's too many fresh legs in there, and big fresh legs.
I think one of the big issues will be decided probably this evening, which is now Tuesday, with Etzebeth. I've not seen the incident. The young 21-year-old in the second row, 6'8", And so far, I don't know the exact number, all I know is they're 100% in the lineouts. 100%. That means if they come here and get 100% lineouts, they will win the game. If Etzebeth doesn't play, then England have a sniff. Etzebeth plays, I think South Africa will just do enough. Because when we've had chances against Fiji, we didn't take them. When we came up against a different challenge against Australia, we failed. And it's just,
Forwards are so scared of South Africa's driving game, they won't double lift, they won't double pod up because they'll think they're going to get driven back 5 yards. But I suggest that you're going to get driven back 5 yards whether they win it or not. So get some guys up there and stop them winning it at source.
And someone has got to be the nominated Joe Worsley. The nominated Joe Worsley.
Off in the back row.
Absolutely, the chopper. Dan Lydiard. Someone has got to say when Alberts or when Lowe or when De Villiers comes short or when they bring Flippy van der Merwe off the bench and these boys come and they're all 20, 21 stone, someone has got to drop them. If you don't drop them on the game line, you ain't beating South Africa.
Wales against New Zealand.
Not good. Not good in a set. Actually, that's the wrong thing to say. Not good. I just love watching this New Zealand side. They've had games against Scotland and Italy. They've rotated their first 15. They'll pick their number one side for the next two games. Wales and England. They'll want to finish the year on a high. They'll pick up the IRB World Team of the Year. All their players will be numbers 1, 2 and 3. Hansen will be Coach of the Year. They don't do anything spectacular. You watch the tapes back and think, what is it that they've done?
Just everything right.
Oh, and at such pace there.
And power as well. Amazing power for guys that don't appear to be that big. And I think the only way Wales can win this game is if they try and kill it. Kill it at source, make it an absolute fight, war of attrition all over the place. Mess every single breakdown. You may as well pile 4 or 5 guys into every single breakdown. A little bit like Argentina do against New Zealand. Give themselves a fighting chance and then hope that Priestland has found some form that can push the corners for them. Because otherwise, it's going to be a horrible day in Cardiff.
They've got to try. I mean, we've been saying get Carter for 7, 8 years. No one ever does. I mean, honestly, his post-match interview after the Scotland game, you would have had no idea he'd been involved in a game of rugby. He is that good.
He's a stealth.
Oh, where is he? Might be here now.
He's not.
Oh.